Why some countries stay poor no matter what. We live in a world where a single tweet can make someone a millionaire overnight. Yet, entire countries, rich in resources, full of talent, and brimming with potential, can't seem to catch a break. Why is that? Why do some nations remain trapped in poverty decade after decade, while others thrive? Is it bad luck, bad leadership, or something far more complex? In this video, we're diving deep into the uncomfortable truth about global inequality. This isn't about blaming the poor, it's about exposing the systems, history, and global patterns that keep certain countries from ever getting ahead. Geography can be a trap. Not every country starts with a level playing field. Geography plays a massive role in shaping a country's economic potential. Landlocked countries like Chad, Niger, and South Sudan face massive logistical hurdles when it comes to accessing international trade. Without ports, transporting goods becomes costlier and slower. According to a World Bank report, landlocked countries incur up to 50% higher shipping costs compared to coastal nations. And it's not just about borders. Harsh climates in parts of the world make agriculture unpredictable. For example, much of the Sahel region faces chronic droughts that wipe out crops, kill livestock, and leave millions food insecure. Tropical countries often contend with diseases like malaria or dengue, which reduce workforce productivity and increase healthcare burdens. Compare that to nations in temperate zones, like Germany or Japan, which enjoy more stable agricultural outputs and fewer climate-related disruptions. Singapore, by contrast, demonstrates how geographical advantages, like strategic port access, can propel even a small island nation into a global economic powerhouse. Colonization didn't end, its effects just changed. The legacy of colonization is deeply embedded in many of today's poorest nations. Colonizers redrew borders, dismantled traditional governance, and forced economies to serve foreign interests. Gold, oil, rubber, and human beings were extracted in vast quantities. By the time these countries gained independence, they were left with fragile political systems, underdeveloped economies, and deep social divisions. Take the Democratic Republic of the Congo, rich in minerals like cobalt and coltan, vital for smartphones and electric cars. It remains one of the poorest countries in the world. Colonial powers built infrastructure solely to extract resources, not to connect communities or build local economies. That blueprint still affects development today. Even in former colonies that achieved independence decades ago, their economies remain shaped by global systems designed during colonial times. Many still export raw materials and import finished goods, a pattern that keeps them trapped at the bottom of the value chain. Corruption is not just a local problem. When we talk about poverty, corruption often gets the spotlight, and rightly so. In many countries, public funds meant for schools, roads, and hospitals are siphoned off by politicians and middlemen. But this isn't just a local issue. Western banks, accounting firms, and real estate markets often serve as safe havens for illicit funds. According to Global Financial Integrity, developing countries lose more than $1 trillion every year through illicit financial flows. Money that leaves these economies through trade misinvoicing, tax evasion, and money laundering. A significant portion of that money was stashed in Swiss and United Kingdom banks. So while citizens at home suffer failing services, the global system silently profits. Debt, the silent economic handcuff. External debt is one of the most suffocating forces holding poor countries back. Much of this debt was accumulated in the 1970s and 1980s, often lent under generous assumptions, misguided advice, or corrupt regimes. Fast forward to today, and many countries are spending more servicing debt than investing in people. Take Sri Lanka. Before its economic collapse in 2022, nearly 70% of government revenue was going to repay debt. In Ghana, debt repayments now exceed spending on education. Even after debt relief programs like the Heavily Indebted Poor Countries Initiative, many countries find themselves trapped in a vicious cycle of borrowing to stay afloat. The debt isn't just a number, it's a straitjacket that limits options, kills innovation, and erodes sovereignty. Brain drain. When the best minds leave. Educating the next generation is one of the smartest investments a country can make. But what happens when that investment walks out the door? Brain drain is a critical issue. Countries like Haiti, Zimbabwe, and Nigeria lose thousands of doctors, engineers, and academics each year to richer nations. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Sub-Saharan Africa has lost over 30% of its skilled professionals to emigration. In the Caribbean, nearly 70% of tertiary educated citizens live abroad. That's a massive loss, not just of labor, but of leadership, innovation, and capacity. While remittances help families, they don't build hospitals or manage cities. And often, it's the countries that need their brightest minds the most that lose them the fastest. Broken institutions can't build wealth. Strong institutions are the invisible scaffolding of progress. They ensure contracts are honored, corruption is punished, and citizens have a say. But when institutions fail, chaos isn't far behind. Countries with weak rule of law struggle to attract investment. The World Bank ranks political stability and regulatory quality as key factors for economic growth, and many poor countries score poorly. In fragile states, changing laws overnight or overturning elections destroys trust, both domestically and internationally. Without an impartial judiciary, property rights aren't protected. Without strong anti-corruption bodies, public funds disappear. And without fair elections, leaders are often more accountable to foreign donors than to their own people. Trade isn't fair, it's rigged. The international trade system often favors countries that are already rich. Developing nations typically export raw materials like cocoa, cotton, or copper, products with low market value. Meanwhile, wealthy nations export finished goods, capturing the bulk of the profits. Take cocoa. Africa produces over 70% of the world's cocoa beans, yet earns less than 5% of global chocolate revenue. Why? Because chocolate processing, branding, and distribution are dominated by Western companies. Tariffs and subsidies further distort the playing field. Rich countries subsidize their farmers, making it hard for farmers in developing nations to compete even in their own local markets. The World Trade Organization has tried to address some of these inequalities, but powerful countries often resist reforms that would level the field. Climate change hits the poor hardest. Climate change doesn't hit everyone equally. Developing countries face the brunt of rising temperatures, floods, droughts, and crop failures, despite contributing the least to global emissions. Bangladesh is a prime example. With most of its land barely above sea level, millions are at risk of displacement from rising waters. In Malawi and Mozambique, erratic rainfall and cyclones have caused widespread food insecurity and forced mass migrations. What makes it worse is that these countries often lack the infrastructure or emergency services to recover. And while climate finance has become a buzzword in global politics, very little of it actually reaches the most vulnerable communities in time to make a difference. Technology gaps hold back progress. In today's digital age, access to technology is a form of power, yet many poor countries remain digitally disconnected. According to the International Telecommunication Union, over 2.6 billion people still don't have reliable internet access, most of them in low-income regions. Without digital infrastructure, it's hard to build competitive businesses, train workers, or engage in the global economy. E-commerce, remote education, telemedicine, All are out of reach without connectivity. Additionally, many developing countries are stuck importing expensive tech rather than building it. That leads to constant outflows of capital and makes it hard to move up the value chain. No one fixes it. Because it works for someone. This is the most uncomfortable truth of all. Poverty isn't an accident, it's profitable for some. Global companies benefit from cheap labor, lax environmental laws, and untapped markets. Politicians enjoy aid without accountability. Middlemen and consultants thrive on managing poverty rather than ending it. Pharmaceutical firms make billions off diseases that persist due to poor healthcare systems. Fashion brands keep prices low through exploitative labor in garment factories. Even well-meaning NGOs sometimes perpetuate dependency by prioritizing donor satisfaction over local empowerment. In short, keeping countries poor often serves someone's bottom line. And that's why meaningful change is so slow. It requires rewriting the rules of a global game that's working just fine for those at the top. So, why do some countries stay poor, no matter what? It's not just mismanagement or bad luck. It's history, exploitation, inequality, and power all tangled together. Until the global system values justice over profit, many nations will remain stuck. Not for lack of potential, but because the odds were never designed for them to win. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.